Buddy, you picked the wrong person to harass. After the introduction, we are jumping straight into this, TLDR at the bottom. The year was 2014 or maybe 2013, who gives a shit. And I was a freshman in high school. On a general basis, it sucked. I mean, it was an American public high school with literally thousands of kids. It's a given that it's gonna blow some major balls. One thing in particular that made it extra sucky though was gym class. Specifically this one guy in gym class. This dude's name was Jack A. McGee. The A of course being short for ass, as the name would imply he was a jackass. At first it was pretty standard high school guy in gym class level of obnoxious prick. You know the type, overly loud, unreasonably aggressive during games, bossy, tossing the collective brain cell back and forth between his two equally ape-like buddies. The usual. I don't know when exactly it happened, but he developed a sort of eye for me. After the first couple of weeks or so, he started asking me bizarre questions that I now believe may have been some sort of innuendo. Sitting uncomfortably close to me, resting his hand on my gym shoe, generally creepy behavior. He once blocked a doorway with his body, this dude was massive, forcing me to literally squeeze my way through and crawl over him. He then tried to grab me and pin me to him once I was almost through. But I'm very good at dodging physical contact whenever possible, and dipped on him before his giant gorilla arm could catch me. I still shudder thinking about it. I cannot emphasize enough how terrible this dude smelled. But the true breaking point came during the peak cruelty of this school-mandated sadism, gym swim. Before anyone asks, let it be known that yes, I did try to tell someone about this. I told my gym teacher first semester, really early on, that Jack was making me incredibly uncomfortable. The gym teacher waved it off, saying he was just playing around and that it's probably because he likes you. His suggestion was basically just to put up with it and wait it out, because he was sure Jack would lose interest soon anyways. Spoiler alert, he didn't. Second semester rolls around and the 4-week period of gym swim descends upon us like the bloated carcass of a catapulted whale, crushing us beneath its wet, foul-smelling body. 40-some odd adolescents forced into a cold, overly chlorinated pool for 50+ minutes, adorned in swimsuits, determined to crawl up into our assholes like Ant-Man himself. It was hell on earth basically. As I've mentioned in a previous post, I am autistic, so the echoing sounds, reflected fluorescent lights, pungent odors, slimy floors and assorted BS made the situation even worse for me. I wasn't officially diagnosed yet, so my complaints were written off as me being whiny, and I was told to shut up and deal with it, so I did. I think I had more meltdowns in that 4-week span than I've had in the past 2 years combined, but whatever. On the top of the sensory overload there was Jack. I think something about being allowed to go shirtless and stare at the nearly bare ass of girls for an entire period emboldened him, because Jack promptly lost whatever semblance of restraint he had until then. He made frequent attempts to grab me, trying to hold me against his bare skin, which was disgusting, and I spent most of the class trying to evade him. The swimsuit I was forced to wear fit a little awkwardly around my chest, which he delighted in pointed out to his buddies, staring unabashedly at my breast. He managed to sneak up behind me and snap the strap of my swimsuit, even trying to pull it down off my shoulder, but I jerked away fast enough to prevent that. I was furious at this point. I'm like 5'2" maybe, whereas he was easily 6'5", probably 300+ pounds, and I'm not stupid. While all this was happening, my new gym teacher, they switch every semester, was busy trying to keep a couple of the other guys from drowning each other. She was one adult forced to watch over 40 rowdy ass kids in a swimming pool. She was a bit preoccupied. The final straw came one Wednesday afternoon, the event that finally pushed me off the edge of rationality I'd been clinging to and sent me plummeting into full-on bloodthirst. There I was, paddling around minding my own business when Jack and his 2 goons managed to corner me. I'm immediately suspicious. Hackles raised as they asked me fairly banal questions about how the pool is today and the like, sniggering the whole time. I've give short, terse answers, trying to see if I could maybe slip past them. I spot an opening and bolt for it, but Jack was apparently expecting this. As I swim through the narrow gap between him and one of his friends, he stretches his arm out. and actually managed to slip his hand under my suit to grab my breast. I froze for a moment, the delighted giggling of him and his friends echoing in my ears as if from 1,000 miles away. The next thing I knew, I was out of the pool, being held back by the gym teacher, and Jack had a bloody nose. He was shouting angry at me, calling me a crazy bitch, and his nose gushed blood into the water. There was a mass confusion among the class. I was told to change quickly and sit in the hallway. Apparently the gym teacher had heard me screech like a banshee, followed by a number of shouts, and had looked over to see me wrestle out of Jack's grip, jumped on his back, and threw him off balance enough to smash his face into the edge of the pool wall. I remembered none of this, but I did find a few chunks of greasy brown hair clenched in my fist that I would eventually rip from his scalp when the teacher pulled me off. I washed my hands thoroughly. It was decided that I would go in early to school tomorrow to have a little talk with the dean. They would have just sent me there straight away, but gym was my last class of the day and the dean had already left by then for whatever reason, so it had to be postponed a little while. It was pretty heavily implied that I was going to be suspended, quite possibly even expelled for what had happened. I was furious. Not only had Jack made my life a living hell, but his horseshit was now going to be the cause of my expulsion. I wasn't about to go down without a fight, but I realized that I would have to play this pretty smart if I wanted to weasel out of it. The next morning I did two things. I put on mascara and I made a superficial but rather painful incisions on my right thigh, high enough so as to be covered by my shorts. Normally I hate wearing makeup because I don't like the way it feels, but I worn mascara before and noticed the interesting effect it had on my appearance. Specifically, I already had pretty long, pretty dark eyelashes, so adding mascara draws a lot of attention to my eyes and make them look huge. Like total Bambi, eyes wide, innocent, naive, harmless. I sat down in front of the dean at 6:40 AM. I didn't need to fake the fear in my expression, but I made sure to throw in something that could be interpreted as guilt too, bowing my head and twisting my face in dismay. Needless to say, the dean was pretty pissed. "Do you know why you're here, young lady?" he said. "Yes," I said softly. "And you know that what you did is very serious?" "Yes," I said again, making my voice tremble. "Care to explain yourself then?" I began, my voice shaking. "I just wanted him to stop." "Stop what?" the dean prompted, his eyebrows furrowed. "I just wanted him to stop touching me," I blurted. As I said this, I reached my hand under the table where I couldn't see it and dug my finger into the cut on my leg, causing me to lurch forward as if in a sob, my other hand covering my face as my eyes watered from the pain. "Touching you?" the dean asked, his brows now on a collision course for Mars. I spent the next several minutes divulging all the shit that happened to me that year, digging into my injury for some tears whenever necessary. And by the end of it, the dean looked horrified. He reaffirmed that no, I shouldn't have attacked Jack like that, but that they would have to investigate the matter further. I basically got off with a slap on the wrist, and after multiple testimonies from other girls, Jack got suspended for 2 weeks. I wasn't satisfied. They hadn't been able to expel him due to the lack of hard evidence, but I was out for blood. He returned to school 2 weeks later, and I was ready. One of his friends had a little brother in my bio class, a very chill dude named Owen, who I had worked out the deal with. See, Jack had been very vocal about his displeasure with me to his friends, which made its way to Owen, who, for the low price of bawling his dumb ass out in biology, was more than willing to share that information with me. I had a direct pipeline. Anything Jack shared with his friends made its way directly to me via Owen, and as it turns out, this dude didn't keep a lot to himself. There was a lot of shit I was tempted to nail him for. For instance, I found out he was selling drugs, mostly Adderall and some occasional weed, from his locker, and had been cheating his way through most of his classes. However, I knew how suspicious it would look for me to report something like that so soon. I would probably just look like I had a grudge, which I did, and was trying to get even, which I was. He slipped up really bad about a week after his return, and that was when I struck. See, he hadn't been subtle about his displeasure with my retaliation, and spent most of gym class sending really ugly looks my way. The gym teacher kept us as far away from each other as possible, but he managed to track me down in a passing period one day and ranted at me about how I screwed him over and that I was a lying little bitch. yada yada yada, and that he would make me regret it. Funny, stole the words right out of my mouth. I found out from Owen later that Jack had been bragging to his friends last night about the switchblade he'd stolen from one of those hunting stores downtown, and promised he would show it off to them later that day. I seized the opportunity. I took a few seconds in the bathroom mirror, scratching at the scab on my leg until my eyes were teary enough to really sell the terrified victim look. Then bolted down to the dean's office, stuttering and shaking, crying out for help. The front desk lady was understandably startled by the sight of a seemingly panicked freshman girl bolting into the office and called the dean out right away. His face grew serious when he saw me. "Mr. Dean, please help, he's gonna kill me," I cried. "Now, slow down," he said. "What happened?" "Jack," I said, resisting the urge to grin maniacally at the hardness that appeared in the dean's eyes. He cornered me in the hall. He called me a bitch and said he was gonna make me regret telling on him. He's got a knife." "He what?" the dean barked. Everything moved very quickly after that. The security guards were told to search the kid's locker, while a couple of other security officers were called down to get Jack out of his classroom and take him to the office. I was told by the front desk lady, who had heard the whole exchange, to hide with her in the copier room so Jack wouldn't see me. They found the stolen knife in his backpack and the drugs in his locker. That, combined with his previous charges, was enough to get him not only expelled but arrested. I never saw him again, which is probably a good thing because I'm still mad and would probably try to kill him if I given the opportunity. So those were the stories for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, a like would be highly appreciated. It really does help my channel out. Also, if you enjoyed this and want to stay up to date on the latest videos, then don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next video.